So I'll read the M.H. Shakir translation, Surah 23, verse 14. Then we made the seed a clot. Then we made the clot a lump of flesh. Then we made in the lump of flesh bones. This is wrong, by the way, scientific. This is scientific.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is nonsense scientifically. Then we clothed the bones with flesh. Now notice, first, you're going through embryonic development here. First you become bones, and then your flesh develops and covers the. This is wrong. This is absolute nonsense. If you've studied the development of the fetus.
Professor Keith Moore is one of the world's prominent scientists in the fields of anatomy and embryology, and is the author of the book entitled The Developing Human, which has been translated into 8 languages. The book is considered a scientific reference work and was chosen by the Special Committee in the United States as the best book authorized by one person. Dr. Keith Moore is the professor of anatomy and cell biology at the University of Toronto in Toronto, Canada. In 1984, he received the most distinguished award presented in the field of anatomy in Canada, the JCB Grant Award from the Canadian Association of Anatomists. He has directed many international associations such as the Canadian and American Association of Anatomists and the Council of the Union of Biological Sciences. Let's now listen to what Professor Keith Moore has to say about the revelations found in the Quran 1400 years ago, and what science has only recently been able to find out through detailed investigation.
Intensive studies of the Quran and Hadith in the last 4 years have revealed a system for classifying human embryos that is amazing since it was recorded in the 7th century A.D. The descriptions of the human embryo in the Quran cannot be based on scientific knowledge in the 7th century. The only reasonable conclusion is that these descriptions were revealed to Muhammad from God. He could not have known such details because he was an illiterate man with absolutely no scientific training. Surah Al-Mu'minun, ayah 1 to 14, and I repeated that before. Then we created the drop into a leech-like structure. Then of that leech-like structure, we made a chewed-like substance, which you can see here, and begins during the 6th week. Next stage is Al-Qissa Bil-Lan, Surah Al-Mu'minun, ayah 14. Then we clothe the bones with flesh. So in the previous stage, then we had the bones, and then we covered the bones with flesh. So this Arabic term means a clothing with flesh, and after the bones form, they become surrounded or clothed by flesh or muscles, which acquire attachments to them. These muscle attachments permit movements of the skeleton to occur. Now this is the final stage of development called Al-Nasha. Then we developed of him another creation. Al-Nasha means growth or coming into being. This undoubtedly refers to the fetal period when there is growth and differentiation of the embryo that developed in the embryonic period. The rate of body growth during the fetal period is remarkable, especially between the 9th and 16th weeks.
Laid out, Muhammad had no evidence to show that he's a prophet. He relied on people's ignorance. This is wrong. This is absolute nonsense. If you've studied the development of the fetus.
Muhammad could not have known these facts about human development in the 7th century because most of them were not discovered until the 20th century. Muslims and others are justified in concluding that these facts could only have been revealed to Muhammad by the one who knows all about us, not only about how we developed, but how we live and function.
But as I was raised as a Christian and believe as you do that Muhammad was a messenger of God, just as Jesus was a messenger, each bringing messages from God. So I didn't find it difficult when I was told about the Quran and that these were revelations from God. It wasn't difficult for me because my own father made it very clear to me that he was called by God to be a minister, to go and talk about God to the people. So in an indirect way, maybe God is telling me that this is the right thing for me to do, to help explain your holy book to you. Now, your scientific colleagues can do this just as well as I can if they have an understanding of embryology. But I've always said that it's probably mean more as a non-Muslim for me to tell people around the world that I believe that what is recorded in the Quran is accurate according to our present knowledge. And as I say, I'm sincere in what I say, is that we just didn't have this knowledge, and some of this knowledge about the genes and the chromosomes has only come to us in the last 10 and 15 years. When I was a student 25 or 30 years ago, we didn't have a lot of the knowledge we have now. And there are a lot of things in the Quran that I was asked questions about, and I said, I don't understand it. And I think that maybe in another 100 years, and I won't be here, but on those verses, if you ask them to the embryologists of that day, they will say, sure, that is what this means. So that, to answer your question very simply, I don't feel it's necessary for me to become a Muslim to worship God. I've done that for all of my 60 years. And if anything, though, understanding this just shows me that God has a great influence in this world. That's the best that I can answer that for you. And I have seen some of my colleagues who've been so impressed by what they have read in the Quran and so on, that they have certainly, there have been a few cases where they have converted, and that's fine. And if I'm ever so motivated, I would do the same. But I have a strong belief. It just happens to be a little different way of worshiping God than yours, but we're all worshiping the same God, I like to think, and that if we can work together, we'll have a much happier world. Thank you.